Hey guys, Igor here and welcome to yet another PolyMarvel video. In today's tutorial we are going to tackle this nice and fun to model, let's call it engine control system. So let's move this on side, and as usual let's go to our selection mode with S, select our container, and then with one of the component shortcuts let's dive in. Now, what I will do, I will first create another tube, make sure that my tool options are set on the create in context, and just press enter. And now I will connect this tube to my mat size node, and now my tube took over this shape of mat size. And because mat size was looking exactly as tube, we have the perfect match. So we are going to use this mat size as a template. Now let's select this tube. Let's go to our selection mode, and before I can select the top, I need to make sure that I am inside of the tube, and simply I need to end caps. Nice. So let's select this top cap, and then with our edit or translate node, let's just move this a bit down, or all the way down. Like I said, this mat size, as you can see, is just our template, nothing else. We cannot do anything with it as long as it's staying as a template. Now if we check here, we can see that my bottom part here is much bigger, so I'll make it bigger, something like this. But I also need to make sure that I have more columns on this tube. So if I go back and add some columns, I'm gonna get this issue. And the problem here is because this edit node operates on a group of polygons which are, in this case, 0 to 13, we can see that any number above 13, so 14, 15, 16, and then 31 is basically not selected, it's not highlighted. And this is pretty much one of the major Houdini logics and how it actually works. It's all about normals, grouping, vectors, and so on. So what I need to do, I would usually just do a reselection and press enter, but it does not work. Okay, so I just need to delete this and simply do this once again. Make sure that I have selected this tube, select top, and with T let's invoke our translate, and let's make sure that all of these are not moved, just y-axis. Let's remove the display primitive numbers, and now what I can do, I can go up and then invoke the tube. Let's remove this for a bit, and now I can make this tube bigger from here or not. Now, okay, I cannot because this tube is actually connected to mat size, so we cannot make any changes. So let's just do it from edit and make this to look like this. I think that's going to be okay. With space bar Y, I can check how this is actually mirroring with the whole scene. And let's say this is just fine. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Now I'm gonna use Polyextrude, and I will extrude a bit up, and then with shift and scroll I'll just make an inset, and I will try to match the reference image as much as possible. Now let's repeat our last node with Q and bring it up, up, up. Once again I can with space Y check my outside geometry and try to, I don't know, help myself to see how actually, which height I want to use for this. Let's say this is okay. I would need another inset here, and I think that's totally fine. You can always come back and play with this. It's really not a big deal for now. So let's queue again and then make another inset outside and then queue again. Let's make a height, or let's extrude like this. And I think that's for this bottom part. I think that would be okay. So now we need to deal with this part. So what I will do, and actually before we continue, I want to make sure that this part here has less polygons. So I'll just make a pattern, and let's see, I will select these and I will deselect these. I need to enable this thing, so it's only selecting fully contained geometry, which will not select these then. And I can now delete, and that's it. And now this part, let's just select everything and let's just cusp, so that these are now separate geometries. And now what we can do is few things. I can add another tube to create this part here, or for the sake of tutorial, I'll do something else, and I'll make sure that I also cusp this part. And now I'll just use this geometry, rotate it a bit, make it bigger. And obviously for this part we are going to need a bit more resolution for this geometry. So let's subdivide. And of course, point attribute set sharpen edges boundaries. And maybe we can add a bit more, or maybe that would be overkill. But no, let's use this. Okay. And now with my laser selection, let's select everything, or just double click. Let's make a small extrude inside and just collapse everything. And now in polygon mode, yeah, this is maybe a bit of overkill, but it's fine. Let's use lab thickens, and then in both directions. This already seems to be working just fine. I don't have to do anything else. And for this back part, I'll just make a bevel, something like this, and let's say that part is done. Now let's move on this part, and let's make a polyextrude. Let's insert with shift and scroll to inside, and let's repeat extrude. Once again, let's insert a bit. This seems fine. Now to me it seems that there is one more extrude inside, so let's do that. But now we are having issues with this geometry here, so I can just select here and just move it at the bottom as much as I can. And I think that's gonna be okay. We just fixed the issue. Now we can create a hole here, but let me do this. Let me think if I want to do that at the end. For now, let's just concentrate on the main shapes. Okay, so I think this inside is okay. Now we should be creating this part. Now I'm gonna make this as geometry, but usually probably you would do this as a texture. So yeah, let's just do it as geometry. So I'll just select, I need to be in selection mode. And let's see, I think, how many? I have 40. So, okay. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's gonna be fine. So let's duplicate, let's get it back so we can see what we are doing. And let's see, I want to use, or you know what, let's do this. Let's pick in selection mode, let's pick 5 of these sides and let's just copy this or duplicate them. Now what I will do, I will press right mouse button on the gizmo and make sure to enable pivot mode. And I'll bring this gizmo now, or this pivot, here in the middle. And what I will do next is I'll just make sure, of course, to disable pivot mode. So now our pivot is attached to the center. And now we can move this part, but I would also, let's see, yeah, I cannot move. Let's go back and see. And let's create. And now we are duplicating the geometry. And I want to select this geometry that is now invisible. So what I can do here is just hide this. And then make sure to select everything. And I'll just extrude a bit. And maybe add a bit of bevel. Of course, not on these. But one thing that I missed is actually, see, this middle part. So what I will do actually is I'll just delete all of these. And then from this point, I will just make a bevel. Let's try again. So I just deleted all bevels. Now things work. So let's make sure that we are sliding this on the always setting. And let's say this is fine. Great. And now I can also go to selection. The selection, let's convert to edges and let's cusp this. Now again I have disconnected geometry. Or if I don't want to cusp, I can then, after bevel, I don't need edit. After bevel, we can actually polyextrude this. Side. And now I want this to be disconnected. Primitive. So what I can do, I can, instead of copying, deleting, or cusping this, what I can also do is invoke yet another extrude. I'm getting this, but what I actually should do is make sure that this output side is disabled. Now I have this disconnected geometry, and I can also extrude easily the placement of this node without affecting anything else. Not node, sorry, this geometry, these polygons. Which is very convenient. So if we extrude again, we can get something like that, and now we can make a bevel, small bevel, and then make another extrude and just collapse this in center, and voila. The cool thing is, if we go back now to the first extrude, we are getting this, and then with second extrude we are being able to make changes quickly without affecting the bevel, which is very convenient. So we can also change the bevel, and this is really what I like with Houdini. So let's move this back like this, and yeah, that looks good. Great. So let's go at the last node, and I'll do yet another poly bevel. But before that, I just want to make sure that we don't have that many resolution. So with my cool pattern selection, I can select all of these and just delete. And then from here, I can create yet another circle, extrude it, and we are getting ready for this part. I think this thing is a bit smaller, so that's cool. So with page up and down, we can go back and forth these nodes and change either the bevel or the height or the distance. If you're using mouse as I'm doing to go up and down through these node streams, then you can see quickly how this can be very effective and very nice to work with, and in the end you gain speed. But let's continue. And from what I'm seeing here, I think I'm going to choose now some of these top primitives, and let's see if I copy, make it smaller like this, bring it back, and now let's try to extrude. Of course, this extrude will not work, but we can press F to get the gizmo, transform extruded front, and scale this as we want, bring it up, and then maybe just align it here as much as possible. So space H, let's see, this is our front, and we can just align it with this outside ring. And yeah, I think that's good enough. And now what I need, obviously we need this to be gone, so I need to make this cut, or let's see, I'll make a loop. Actually no, I'll select these and these, and I'll make inner extrusion yet again, so I don't need this poly split. So let's make this to look like this, and now with this part I will poly bridge it and bridge it to this side. Press not delete, sorry, but actually wait, before I do that, let's make sure that my inset isn't going over this polygons. So what I could also do, I could actually delete these two. I don't really need them. If I don't like this now, I can just grab this edge, and with my slide mode, Let's use either blend. Bring it down, maybe this one too. And now for the other side, we can just mirror this. And in this case, it does not work, so we will have to do this manually, or just use mirror node. You want to make this perfectly matched. Okay, now let's select these and these, and just let's make inner extrude a bit tinier, something like this. I think it will work. Okay, doesn't matter. Let's just do polybridge and see what happens. Polybridge, select these, enter. Now this doesn't work. Probably because of this issue at the bottom. So let's see how I can deal with this. Let's see if this will fix it. I make only this kind of extrusion. So let's invoke, enter, and now it works. Now what I can do is I can just use this scale and make things like this manually, and then let's try using peak to make this a bit thicker. And then again, can fix this with scale manually. And I think that looks decent. Of course, normals are screwed, but we can deal with this later. Or we can deal with this now. Not 0. But something like this seems to be working. Usually around 40 is the value we seek. Now this still looks like it's kind of too thin, so let's try with a bit more peak. And then with edit, selection is already there. Let's see what we can do. So let's fix quickly this. And that's it. I think that will work. And I will also take this and just bring it down a bit to make this thing here. And now what I will do is I'll just take this shape here, this primitive, copy it, duplicate it, and just bring it somewhere here. Doesn't matter really. So what I will use now, and I want to thank Carlos for actually nudging me to try this node again. And this node is called Align Component. And I remember trying it for the first time and I really just couldn't figure it out. And then when I saw Carlos nudging me to try it, for the situation I had in the previous video, I think I immediately knew that there is something more to it. So I think I needed 15 minutes to try and figure it out, and oh boy, what a discovery. So thank you, Carlos. This node is super nice, but it could be a bit confusing for someone that's just starting. So how this align component node is working is it's basically in 3 stages. First stage is select any geometry or in like a group and that you actually want to align. So in my case, I want to select this primitive and I want to align it. The next thing you need to do is you need to invoke the tool. So just press left mouse button on the tool. And now there are two more steps that we need to do. First step is, this might be a bit confusing, but if you're reading here, it says select source component for alignment. This part is a bit confusing because it actually doesn't tell me anything. What source? What is the source? So I'll try to explain this how I see it. Basically, next thing we need to do is select a primitive where we want to oh man, how would I explain this? Okay, this might be a bit stupid, but I really don't have any other idea to explain this. So let's say that the next step is we need to choose the butt cheek, and this butt cheek needs to sit somewhere, okay? So if you select this primitive, we just selected this butt cheek, and now this butt cheek needs to sit somewhere. So the next step, the third step, is to determine where we want this butt cheek or primitive to sit on. In my case, I want it to sit here, okay? And the cool thing is we can actually choose between all 3 modes. And in this case, I'll choose the edge mode and just click on this edge. And now we have moved this primitive to this edge. And I'm not quite sure why this is now so tiny. It usually doesn't happen. So I'll just make it bigger. Let me actually try this again. So if I select this and align component, select my butt cheek and select where I want this butt cheek to sit, I will go to edge mode and click here. And I have no idea why this became so small. But it does not matter, I'll just make it bigger. I wonder why these kind of things show up when I'm recording. I've been using this tool from the day Carlos told me about it, and I never had this problem. So anyway, if you are getting this smaller, tiny, or invisible to your eye primitive, just try to zoom in and you'll definitely see your geometry. You'll just have to scale it up. So maybe it's a good that this mistake or this issue showed up now, so I can actually show you how to fix it and what's the problem. So you can now see how this align component can come in handy, and it's pretty cool. You should really learn to use it. So now I will just extrude. Our normals are reversed. Doesn't really matter. I will select everything and just reverse it back. Now I need to add a normal node. Double click. Yeah. Now things are fine. But I want to make this a bit bigger. Not bigger, but just remove it from the surface and make Polyextrude here with much less inset, and make another extrude. Go up and let's see the inset. It fits inside. Yeah, that looks fine. I think that will be good enough. Let's make small bevels to smooth this. Nice. So I also want to make sure that this part is kinda different. So let's make this thing like this. And now this part we can convert and just collapse it. Nice. Okay, now I want to make the bevels where I don't have them. So let's see. Let's select any component. Let's invoke group create and then disable base group and enable include by edges. And then here, let's see. I obviously don't need these, so let's make this a bit bigger value and see if we have everything selected that we need to be selected, and to my eyes I think yes. So let's invoke poly bevel on these and just make a smaller bevel. Now I don't think that this will work, so let me delete this one and just make sure to deselect all these. I want to make different bevel here on these. So let's bevel again. Obviously I didn't deselect everything, but luckily with this node, even after bevel we can make these selections. So we can also use Control A middle mouse button to deselect the loop. It's kind of very cool and convenient. Okay, now let's try invoke another group create. And let's see, I just want to make sure that I'm only selecting the 90 degrees polygons. And here I have another selection. So I'll make sure to deselect it. And also here, it seems here. So let's deselect. You see how this is very convenient. I can just go back and make a deselection, and obviously here. And is there anywhere else? Yeah. Here too, it seems. Okay, hopefully that's now everything. Yeah, seems fine. Let's go back. And let's invoke another bevel, but this time much smaller. And yeah, I think that's nice. Okay, cool. I'll also make sure that these are brought up a bit. Because when I look at the reference, this seems to be a bit more like this. And let's see, this bevel didn't work. So let's just make a small adjustment. Press enter and this seems nice. Let's now delete this edit and let's bring these. Yeah, that looks much better. So you can see how easily you can deal with poly bevel and just add selection. Even if you've made a mistake, just go back, select, deselect, whatever you need. Even make a loop selection or loop deselection. And these things are so nice in Houdini. I cannot express enough how good it feels to be able to do that. And okay, let's see. This is maybe also overkill, so again I can make a pattern. Shift P, left, 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 right, right, right. Let's see. You need to also hold Shift all the time, and then with left, right, select the side edges. And now that we have selected everything, just delete or dissolve. And I don't know what happened. I was probably on the wrong node. I need to be on the last node, so let's repeat. And for some reason, things are not going my way. And if this is happening, what I can try to do is fuse and try it once more. Shift P, and now it works. And I don't want this selection. Come on. So make sure to stop on time. So left, left, and then right, 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 right to select the bottom. But of course, use too many things. So once again, let's make a pattern. Right, 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 right. Select this side, and then with left, 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 select this side, delete, and that's it. It took a while, but yeah, we managed to get what we wanted. Sorry about that, guys. But sometimes it's good that you guys see the mistakes. And now, because me, the dummy guy, deleted the edit node that I shouldn't, I need to repeat this change here. Bring this up, scale it, and maybe make some adjustments here so that it's somehow aligned. Now fix the bevel if you want and call it done. And then again add another normal. We can use it, this one. Bring it around 40, and that's it. That's all the things we need to do. But for me it seems that everything else is screwed, so we can make a reselection and enter and just select everything. Nice. Okay, the last thing we need to do is we need to make these. So let's do it like this. I can also hide, but I'm not going to do this. And actually I'll just select everything here. Duplicate, bring it outside, and let's see. Delete these. And take or grab this one and delete everything else. Grab these, and now I'm going to make copy or duplicate, and now I will invoke my pivot mode and make sure to bring it here and here. So I need to align it with this point here so that I make this. So now that when I'm rotating, I want to rotate around this, basically this axis. In this case, it's a z-axis. So to duplicate these correctly, we had to change the pivot. And now I can go back to this copy and just reset the translate, which will bring this geometry to original position, which is exactly what we needed. And then with this last node, I'll just make sure that everything is selected and just made a Polyextrude and also Polybevel. And that's it, perfect, exactly what we wanted. And again, let's invoke a normal on this group. So make a selection, invoke tool, and that's it. Nice! The last thing I wanna show you guys, very cool thing, is I will just add this thing here because there is really something cool you should know about. And before I do that, I want to actually make sure that this thing is bigger. So with Shift G, I'll just make selection like this. And with scale, just scale it up a bit. Something like that. And maybe you can even bring it up. Let's see how this looks like outside. Yeah, I think that's nice. Not bad. Okay, let's go back in. And now, pretty cool part, which is very unique to Houdini. So let's make an edge loop anywhere, doesn't really matter. And now we can see that there is already selection, so we can just invoke a bevel. And now, because I'm always forgetting which one to use, I'll just enable all these output groups. I don't think I need this, or I'll just leave it. I will show you why I always turn on everything, because they are kind of confusing, so I'm never sure which point to, or which group to expose. So now if I make Polyextrude, instead of using the selection I will use, existing selection, I will use actually a group that we exposed here. And I need this group. So let's see which group that would be. Offset edges, no. So you see, when we select one of the groups, we are, depending on the group type, we are extruding the selection. So we don't need this or this. Okay, this one. So what we needed the edge fillet polys. So if you go here, this was the group that we actually needed to accomplish this. And why this is very nice is I will show you in just a moment. But again, I want to make yet another bevel and make sure to output front group extrude front. And just we can copy this extrude or bevel and make sure that we are beveling extruded front. And make sure to ignore flat edges so that we don't have these additional edges beveled. So what we did, when we outputted or extruded the edge fillet polys, we were getting this, okay, this. And when we extruded or exposed front group of this extrusion, with group extrude front, we managed to bevel this Now, these edges. Now, why is this awesome is, and something very unique to Houdini is because now, not only that we have these parts procedural, all three parts, like this, we can actually go to Polysplit, add loops, and it did not work. And I wonder why. Let's see. Probably I did not. Yeah. I extruded the wrong thing. So let me see. Yes. Okay. We need this group. So when we do a polysplit, make sure to enable this edge group. And now in this poly bevel, make sure that your group is set to this split path group. So to repeat, in polysplit, make sure that your edge group is enabled, exposed, and then we can use it with the bevel. So now if we add or subtract the cuts, we can even match size, switch profiles, even use edge percentage. We can see how cool effect we can get and make things procedural. We can even go inside and make something like this. Now, how cool is that? So see, it's not science fiction. It can be a little confusing, especially when you're recording tutorial, but as you can see, we managed to get results that we wanted, and it's great stuff. You can always go back and change the amount of cut and then the position of the cut. And then of course the thickness of the bevel and extrusion. So it's fully up to you, boys. Very cool. I'll just leave it there and go back to my last note, and that would be it. Next thing you should do is create your groups, assign materials, and let's go outside. Let's see if we need to do anything else. To me it seems this should be a bit smaller. So what we can try is go inside and let's try to see, make sure to save. And let's see where our extrusions are. So let's invoke, we know that one. See this one. So why this is not working is because we copied this polygon and it's totally different orientation. So let's just go back and do this manually. So with box selection, we can just make this smaller. And then here we can select. So you see, we can do this even manually. It really doesn't matter that much. So let's see. Maybe this could be a bit smaller. And then this too. Let's just select everything. Bring it down. And I think that's okay. Nice. So let's make this an output and let's go outside and let's enable the other the other container of this model, which is, let me see, seems that I deleted it. So I can just Control C, Control V to copy this. And what I can actually do is, it's actually very cool. And actually I was practicing, so I had some control, so I will delete this. And apply, accept. And the thing I can do now is, obviously I want to make this to go on this other side, right? So what I can do is basically, let me bring this. For some reason it copies here, so I don't know why. So let's use this first engine control, and again I need to delete the controls that I made previously when I was testing. What I can do is I can actually copy this value, see the z-axis, exactly what we need. Copy the parameter. Just right click here, copy parameter, and then select this one. And make sure to paste this relative reference here. And right now nothing happens because these two values are the same. So here, these two values are the same. But we need this second part, the second asset, to be on the opposite side. So what we just need to do, make sure that you are in this mode. So if you're clicking here, you can see that these modes are changing. So we need this expression, and in front we just type minus, and boom, voila. And now when we are changing here the position, we are basically mirroring this automatically. So to do the same with this X position and epsilon, what we can actually do, we can just translate, go to translate, right mouse button, and just copy parameter. And then on this side, on this geonode, again on translate, paste relative reference. And now this object is back because we just copied this value, which is minus, and we need plus here. See, it's minus, but we need plus. So if we set here minus, and minus gives plus, and then we have this. And now if I move this part, everything is moving nicely, mirroring nicely. So that's really, really extremely easy to accomplish, like super extremely to accomplish. And another thing that I actually forgot here, there is always more to do. So I'll just quickly make a transform and use pivot, snapping, snap it here, close pivot mode, and now we have a control here for this thing. So as usual, let's rename and recolor, and you can also change. So with Z we can change the shape, but Z to C or Z to make sure that we have color palette exposed or shape palette enabled. And usually this type of node means some kind of control. For example, in rigging rig pose, which you're using for control, it will be this shape. So maybe you can use this shape for any kind of control in your node stream. So it's easier to distinguish. So now what I can do, I can actually copy this node, go back, go here, select this wire, Control V, and we are basically having the same control on this other side, or on this other object, without doing anything, because these two are different. All the numbers, all these primitive numbers are the same. So by just copying this node to here, we are basically doing the same thing. And now, of course, we can make this just a basic control, which this time I'm not going to use folder. I'll just minimize all of this and go inside and just use this value. But one thing to mention is if we now copy this value here and say it's okay, let it be rotate, apply and accept. If we go outside, select this container node, we will notice that now this number, it's actually our starting point. So you see the slider is at -52. It was at -52. So this is probably a bug, because it didn't stay there. It's always at 0. So we would just need to make adjustment here and say from here, and instead of this range, let's say minus, I don't know, maybe -60, and then here, I don't know, 180 maybe, I don't know, let's see what value would be proper here. -60, yeah, 180, or maybe somewhere around here, which is 145. So we are constraining the range, accept, and now we have this control which we can then animate with animation keys. And now if we want the same here, we can just delete, or let's leave it here. So like this, Control C, Control V to copy, and then with Match Transform, we just click, we select the object we want to transform, we invoke Match Transform node, and then we select the node where we want this asset to lay down. So this is now here for some reason. We can delete this, and now we have this other engine with control, and we can use it on this side. But this is obviously, this doesn't work, so we would have to make some adjustments. Okay, so yeah, that would be pretty easy, but for this tutorial I'm not gonna do this. I'll just leave this here, or quickly maybe we can just move this. But make sure that you are doing this here. Okay, somewhere here. Of course, your pivot needs to be aligned properly. And now we can rotate. And now we fixed our issue. And that's pretty much it. Of course, we can do so much more. It's insane, and how easily we can do this is just insane, really. So yeah, guys. Once again, hopefully you learned something. It's been yet another hour, which is crazy. I don't get it. Why it takes so long. yeah, I had some mistakes, but in this tutorial, but I think they are good mistakes so that you can actually see how to fix them. And yeah, one last part that I usually do is just going here and rendering, and then we have something like this. Very cool. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial. Stay safe.